Sup, guys? 2-0 last night or yesterday evening and last night, I guess. I'll take that, certainly. Mason Black in that baseball game did not really do his part, but also his offense didn't do anything. And Zach Wheeler had a really good game yet again. So the under did hit on that one, even though Black gave up a bunch of runs. It was getting a little bit dicey there. I think it was like 5-1 in the sixth inning or something like that after Black really started to struggle, but luckily the under still got there. Wheeler certainly, like I said, did his part. A lot of times usually it takes both offenses to send that over, and we only got enough runs from the Phillies offense, so not a totally unexpected result there. And then the Boston Bruins, big win there in game one. I expected rust from Florida, though actually it was the later portions of the game where the Bruins turned it on and did a lot better. The Bruins had a lot more quality shots in that game. Even though Florida had more shots. That's kind of Florida's game. It's just take a massive quantity of shots, really, but sometimes the quality is not there. So you might say, oh, Florida had a huge shot discrepancy there. Yeah, but part of it was that they were behind for a while there, and part of it is just that that's their game, is just fling a bunch of shots on net, basically, even if they're not that quality. Huge win for the Bruins, and congratulations to Brandon Carlo on the Bruins, who in a 24-hour period had witnessed the birth of his second child, son. Congratulations to him. Then still made the hockey game, played for the Bruins, and scored a goal for the Bruins. Oh, man. And I forgot to mention these two teams are playing tonight. Congratulations to the Cleveland Cavaliers, who are playing my Boston Celtics tonight, and congratulations to the Dallas Stars, who both advanced. I forgot to mention both of those. Hockey tonight, we have two games. The Dallas Stars, actually, we'll talk about Carolina and Rangers because it's the first one up. Carolina and the Rangers. The Rangers won game one. This is game two, with the Rangers up 1-0 at New York in Madison Square. Carolina, again, the odds makers are telling you Carolina is actually the better team here, as they are the road favorite again. And I think they might even still be a slight favorite on the series price. I think the series price is close at this point. They certainly opened the favorite before the series started, despite being the road team. Carolina down from -120 to -118 on the money line, but they were a little bit cheaper in game one, by the way. 65% of the cash on Carolina, though, and 65% of the tickets over on the other side on the Rangers. I lean Carolina again, man. I mean, I think they're the team that'll have the adjustments to make this time. They are sort of in the bounce back spot. I don't know if you want to argue that it's a little bit of a zigzag spot. I mean, the score in the first game was close. Although the Rangers had a 2-goal lead for a large span of it, but I think the score maybe was a little bit misleading. I think the game might have been a little bit closer than the score makes it look. But yeah, I lean Carolina here, and the line is only a little bit more expensive than it was in game one. So the book's adjusting just slightly for maybe that little bit of zigzag phenomena. But the cash versus the public there, this is still I think this is a pros versus Joes series, really, man, until we see any other game telling us otherwise. So I do lean to Carolina in that one, basically for similar reasons to game one, really, that I just think that the odds makers are continuing to tell you that Carolina is actually the better team and the better defense, and now they're in a little bit of a bounce back spot, although I don't know if it's exactly strong enough for me to want to play it. If we look at what happened in game one, is there anything? I haven't really looked at the box score, actually, for that one. Like, a lot of times I handicap on the fly here. It's like, is there anything we can take away from it? I don't know. I mean, Carolina had two more shots, but again, they were playing from behind, and they had the face-off edge slightly as well. If they had like really dominated statistically, that might be indicative of, we should play Carolina here, because the score was really misleading. I still think the score was somewhat misleading. It was actually a close game, but anyway, yeah, I do still lean to Carolina in that game, though. And then Colorado, Dallas. This is an interesting one with a couple of major factors that conflict with each other here. Dallas is only a small favorite in this series, man. The odds makers are coming in and telling you that Colorado is actually the slightly better team. Dallas down from a -120 favorite in this one, so basically only getting home ice, or not even really, because I think you get a little bit more for home ice in the playoffs, down to -118, 57% of the tickets on the other side in Colorado. Kind of surprisingly, because I thought the public would be coming in on Dallas, but I guess after Colorado's dominant performance over Winnipeg and Dallas struggling in their series against Vegas, it's possible the public is off that Dallas hype wagon just a little bit. 57% of the tickets on Colorado, but 61% of the cash on Colorado. I agree with the Colorado side in general. I think they're the better team. I have Colorado winning the series in my bracket. My bracket, by the way, I had all 8 first-round series winners correct. I have Carolina, of course, beating the Rangers. That's not off to a good start. And I have Colorado winning this series against Dallas. In my bracket, I do agree with the odds makers that Colorado is the better team. I think there are a couple of conflicting things here, though, because, again, like I just told you, we're seeing Colorado come off a dominant performance in that first series where Dallas struggled. So, in a way, this looks similar to the Boston-Florida game last night, where you have one team that really dominated a first-round series and finished that series early and has now had a lot of time off. That would be the case with Colorado here versus Dallas, who was only had 1 day off, and they just continue to play after a Game 7. So, that could help Dallas continue their momentum. So I think that is a negative for Colorado. And which I forgot to explicitly mention with Boston, Florida yesterday, is that first round series also made both Florida and Colorado look really good and made Dallas and Boston both not look very good. So that gives you maybe a little bit of extra value on that side as well. However, in this case, I'm not going to just come in and play Dallas for those reasons because, well, we do see the market indicating against it with the cash discrepancy on Colorado, the line moving against Dallas. But Dallas, I think that's a huge series win, man, against Vegas. That was revenge for getting eliminated in the Western Conference Finals last year, and Dallas was able to get that revenge. So I think it is possible that even though you don't really like to say you have a letdown spot in a huge playoff game like this, but I think with Dallas, that is maybe possible that Dallas is coming into this in a little bit of a letdown spot because that was just such a huge win over the returning champs in revenge who knocked them out, eliminated them, ended their season last year. So huge win for Dallas. So is that going to be a letdown spot? Maybe. And like I said, I do think Colorado generally is the better team. So we could look maybe for some spots to play on Colorado in the series, like especially if Dallas wins tonight, you might be able to come in and get a decent price on Colorado in Game 2 potentially. So you might be able to find Colorado in Game 2. So I do lean to Colorado still slightly in this one, and I lean to Carolina maybe a little bit more strongly than that. Not playing either of those. Over in the NBA, my Celtics are up first. I am going to the game tonight. This is Cavs-Celtics. Celtics up from 10.5 to 12, despite being without Porzingis. They're still a double-digit favorite and a big favorite in the series. 87% of the tickets, 95% of the cash. So Celtics public, I mean, people like what they see after they had that blip against Miami. The Celtics just came out and did nothing wrong after that and just crushed Miami in the remaining games in that series. Cavs struggled against Orlando, really, and went 7 games. And Cavs even had to erase an 18-point deficit in Game 7, the game that I was on the Cavs. They played a very good second half, though, and were actually able to do that and have a 29-point swing or something, or even 30, like flipping it from an 8-point deficit to a 12-point lead there. Crazy stuff. So the public does like what they have seen out of the Celtics more. The problem that I have is that the Celtics are coming off that long layoff, man. So I expect that maybe the Celtics will be a little bit rusty early on in this game, although hopefully they're able to get it together after maybe what might be a slow start and turn it around and just win the game. I mean, they're huge favorites. So they better win the game. But as far as covering it, I don't really want to get involved on the Celtics side, even though it looks like the market indicators are actually on that. Even though the public is on the Celtics, looks like cash is coming in on the Celtics to even more of a degree, pushing the line up, which is really just crazy. Like, are the Celtics really this dominant? I don't know. In the East, maybe, but once they get to facing whoever comes out of the West, could start getting maybe a little bit dicey. Maybe even in the Eastern Conference Finals, it could get a little bit dicey, but I just don't like how this sets up early on in the game for the Celtics as far as them coming off a long layoff, whereas Cleveland played 2 days ago, so they're just going to continue that momentum. Same thing that I just said with hockey. Like, it's rest versus rust, really, where the team that you think has a lot of rest actually could be developing rust. So the Celtics finished their series a while ago against Miami, so they might be off to a slow start in this one, whereas the Cavs are in kind of more of a momentum continuing spot, but I don't like I don't want to play really either side in this, like with a double-digit line. I just don't want to get involved. Total is down from 210 to 208.5. Juice to the over a little bit. 91% of the tickets, though, and 95% of the cash on the over. I don't get that. I understand why the public's coming in on the over. I mean, the Celtics do take a ton of three-pointers and score a lot. I would not want to be on the over in this one. I mean, in a game one, you tend to want to look unders, but the Cavs do only have one day off. Celtics are going to have a more rested defense, at least. So their offense might be rusty, but the Celtics defense might be rested and ready to go as well. So there are those two conflicting things as well. Don't want to get involved in it. The other game, Mavs Thunder, I am actually going to go against the market in this one, man. I'm a little bit worried about this one. The Thunder are up from 3.5 to 3.5 with juice at home. 65% of the cash on them. 57% of the tickets over on the other side on the Mavs. So this almost looks like pros versus Joes, which is surprising for me to see because I think you would expect the public to come in on the one seed Thunder here, who had the better season. I mean, the Mavs, even though they looked good in those final games, blowing out the Clippers are just kind of a mess, like a discombobulated team. And you would kind of expect the public to still come in on the Thunder, that number one team that just swept New Orleans easily out of the playoffs, although New Orleans were without Zion. Thunder really didn't do anything wrong, except they kind of struggled in game one. But other than that, they easily won the series. So I'm kind of surprised the public's not coming in more on the Thunder here. I'm coming in on Dallas and taking the 3.5, man. I just think there are a lot of factors that situationally point to the Mavs, even though it looks like the market is against it for whatever reason. Like I said, surprisingly, you would expect public to come in on the one seed, the team that had the better season. Mavs, however, the Mavs are one of those teams, again, where I think that they have more momentum because they just played like not that long ago, like a few days ago. So the Mavs have not had that much time off. So I think they have just enough time where they're rested just enough to come into the series, but not rested so much that they're going to have rust. Whereas the Thunder, they had a sweep in the first series, man. So they've been off for a while, just sitting around. So I expect Dallas to have momentum coming into this one. And Dallas, I think, actually has a little bit of the extra edge there in the experience factor as well. The Thunder are one of the youngest teams in the playoffs, man. I know I mentioned it with Minnesota. Minnesota is a bit inexperienced too, but Minnesota did play Denver in the playoffs last year. Thunder are way more green. Like, they're not used to this, and they're certainly not used to being the one seed in the conference. With all these guys who are young, they have, like, I think the least playoff experience out of any team in the playoffs, except maybe New Orleans, but maybe it's still the Thunder. I don't know, man. So they're like top players. They're all pretty new to this. Dallas, a bit more experience. So I think Dallas has the momentum factor. The Thunder could be coming out with a little bit of rust here, having way too much time off. Maybe the Thunder being a little bit overvalued, too. Like I said, I actually have the Mavs winning this series in my bracket. They're only the slight underdog in the series, I think. It looks like the Thunder essentially just getting home court here. The books are telling you they're only maybe like a half point better than the Mavs overall. So the books are kind of indicating something that we think these teams are almost about even. And with the experience edge and the momentum edge here and not having that rust that I think the Thunder might have here, I'm just going to take the points with the Mavericks. We'll just grab those points, baby. We'll take it 3.5, and then moving to the MLB real quick. I'm going to be on two games in Major League Baseball here, and one is going to be which game is up first? Let's look. Boston Red Sox, my Red Sox, playing at 7:20 Eastern. This is a game where I believe both teams were off yesterday, Atlanta and Boston. But this is a spot where Atlanta's returning home from a road trip, man. So this is, it's a type of spot where I come in on and go against teams like this. Atlanta just went out to the West Coast, although they only played 2 series. They had a bad trip out west, man, a bad trip. They only won 1 game against Seattle and lost all the rest of the games, got swept by the Dodgers. They went 1-5 on the road trip. So I think the public perception is going to be Atlanta's going to bounce back here, but I actually don't think that tends to be the case. You have these distractions coming in, like I say, when you return home from a road trip that took you cross country like that. You're coming home, you have family life to deal with, home life to deal with. That still was a pretty big series that you kind of get emotionally up for Atlanta. And I was surprised Atlanta didn't win against James Paxton in that last game there. Kind of surprising there. And Atlanta coming off that sweep, that's still like an emotional high of a series. And the first game in that series was close. They did get blown out in the second one, but I still don't think this is as good a spot for Atlanta here for all those reasons as it is for Boston. I think it's a decent spot for Boston. The Red Sox, my Red Sox, just started a road trip in Minnesota, lost the first two in Minnesota in somewhat close games, and then had a win in the last game on Sunday and blew out Minnesota. So I think that's going to give them some momentum again. The Red Sox had their momentum halted at the end of that San Francisco series, lost 3 in a row, but now they have that win again under their belt on the road trip, and I think they could carry that momentum out into this quick 2-game series against their natural rival, the Braves here. So I think the Red Sox actually have the momentum there coming into this one. Looking at the market here, it looks like Atlanta is very public, even though it looks like they have actually the cash discrepancy, but I don't know if these numbers are even accurate. You do see the line ticking down on them a little bit from minus 173 to minus 172. Atlanta, pretty heavy favorite. Books are telling you Atlanta's definitely the better team, which I do agree with. This is a spot play, man. I don't love the spot for them. 91% of the tickets, very public, Atlanta, and 99% of the cash. I don't know if I believe that number, but like I said, it's a bad spot. We know Atlanta's public. Atlanta has Ronaldo Lopez pitching. His stats, I think, look way better than he actually is this season. He's got a 1.5 ERA this season and a 1 whip, which I'm not going to knock him. I mean, in 5 starts, I mean, those are good stats. 31-10 strikeout walk ratio in 30 innings. Pretty good for sure. But over his career, I mean, you expect him to regress based on his career, man. I mean, look at his career. He spent most of 2023. Well, 2023 split between the White Sox and the LA Angels, and then very briefly came out of the bullpen for Cleveland as well. And last year it was just kind of a mess. His ERA, his whip was in the 1.4s, although his ERA was kind of in the 3s. Kind of a misleading ERA though, because his whip was so high. His whip is almost 1.3 on his career. ERA in the 4s on his career. Strikeout numbers not as good over his career as they are this year. Too many walks as well. Only a 2.5 strikeout walk ratio. So Lopez, you got to expect from some regression from him, man. And this season, he's faced the White Sox, Miami, the Mets. I actually don't think the Mets even have as good an offense as I thought they did. So those teams not great offensively. Seattle also maybe not that great offensively. Houston, probably the best team that he's faced as far as any of the offenses he's faced this year. He did well in that game against Houston, but Houston has also been struggling. So I don't know. I don't know what to think about Lopez. And the Red Sox have a little bit of history against him. It's almost entirely Devers, though. Devers is actually the only Red Sox hitter who has any hits off him, but he's hit him hard. 5 for 11 with a homer. And even if you include all the offers that the Red Sox have against him, 5 for 17 off him still with a double, a home run, which are both from Devers, who has just really lit up Lopez in his career. 3 strikeouts, 2 walks. It all amounts to a 294 batting average and 898 OPS. Really, it's all damage that's been done by Devers, but those numbers still aren't that good, and I just don't think Lopez is really that good. On the other side, you got Cutter Crawford. He's been surprisingly good this year, and I do expect regression from him as well. I mean, he's got a 1.56 ERA this year, 1.07 whip. I don't expect that to continue, but he is the slightly younger of these two pitchers, and his whip on his career is a bit better, 1.22, even though his ERA is a little bit higher, 4.23. I think his whip indicates that maybe he's a little bit better. His strikeout rate is a little bit better as well, 3.2 strikeout walk ratio as well. So he's a little bit of the better strikeout pitcher. He's been pretty good this season, actually, with a 40-13 strikeout walk ratio and only 30 hits allowed in 40 and a third innings. So he has been a surprise in the Red Sox staff for sure. He's pitched really well. He's pitched at least 5 innings in every start except one against Anaheim, where he only even allowed 1 earned run in that one. He just threw too many pitches, I guess. And aside from that one 5-inning game against a tough Baltimore team where he actually didn't even allow any runs, aside from that, he's gone at least 5 2/3 in all the rest of the starts. And that was only even a 1 start. And in the other 4, he's gone at least 6. He went 7 in his most recent start against San Francisco. Last couple starts, he's been pretty good, although he gave up too many hits against the Cubs, who were a pretty good team. But he didn't even have a terrible performance in that one, really, even though they lost. He didn't have a lot of offense behind him either. And the Atlanta Braves have basically never seen him before. Only Guillorme has ever seen Crawford before, and he's 0 for 1 off him. So I don't know what you can take away from that. It's almost like this entire Braves lineup is coming in new and has not faced Crawford before at all. So I'll take the Red Sox. You can take them on the run line +1. I think might be the way to play this one. You can get a better price on that one if you do it that way at around even money, +104 actually. So that's what we'll do. And then we will take the under in the Seattle-Minnesota game. I like this one, even though it looks like the market is going against it and ticking up from 8 to 8 juice to the over. 57% of the tickets and 62% of the cash on the over. So it looks like we do have money coming in driving this up on the over. I don't agree with that. This looks like an under play to me, and that's where I'm going to come in and do it. You can take the under right now. You might even be able to wait on this, actually. You get a slightly better number. Right now, you can get an under 8 at reduced juice. Minus 105 is like everywhere right now. I think that's basically the best you can do currently, at least at the moment. But this is a series where these teams played yesterday. Yes, that's true. There was some bullpen usage in yesterday's game. It was a low-scoring game, 3-1. Seattle basically didn't use their bullpen. They did use Thornton for 1 1/3. Other than that, their bullpen completely unused because Castillo went pretty deep into the game. So Mariners only used one reliever, and Twins actually got a good start out of Woods Richardson, too. So they only used 3 relievers. And they used Jax for a while, who I don't know if he's more of like a longer relief man. I'm not sure, although they did use Teobar, who I think might be their closer, but his ERA sucks. I don't know. All in all, Minnesota used 3 of their relievers, so I don't think the bullpens are like completely used up coming into this, so I don't think that's a reason to get off. The under here, and of course the starting pitching matchup is what I'm looking at here. Emerson Hancock, he's a guy that I've been on or played unders on him for a while. He's coming off a start where he struggled and walked 4 guys. They gave up 5 hits, put 9 men on base, earned base runners in 3 2/3. Struggled a lot, but he somehow held it, landed a 1 earned run. So he allowed 5 runs, but 4 of them were unearned. So he did get screwed by the defense behind him as well, even though, yes, he put way too many men on base. When you do that, bad things are going to happen. But other than that, since that one really bad start against Milwaukee, so his bad starts against Atlanta, Milwaukee are 2 of the best offenses in baseball, really. Aside from that, he's only allowed 3 earned runs or less in the rest of his starts. And aside from that game, the 3 earned run game against Cleveland, he's allowed 2 earned runs or less in the other 4, including that Atlanta one. So he has not pitched poorly. He has a 23-9 strikeout walk ratio. That's not bad. Not a high strikeout rate, really, 30 1/3. He's not like a dominant strikeout pitcher, but he's allowed 30 hits. That's not terrible. Again, 23-9 strikeout walk ratio is not bad. 4.75 ERA doesn't look great. It's a little bit high. 1.29 whip. Not great, but a little bit better. And he's never been seen before by the Twins. So these young guys that come in, like I say, I think they have the edge. Like I was talking about even with Crawford in that other game. These young pitchers have never been seen before by the opposing hitters. It tends to be a case where they can have the advantage early on in games like that because those opposing hitters have never seen them before. So I think that might be the case there as well. And then on the other side, Bailey Ober. You know I like Ober, man. I think his ERA being at 4.55 this year is misleading, man. He's better than that. 1.04 whip looks pretty good. That indicates that his ERA should be better than that. And he's got a 28-7 strikeout walk ratio in 31 and 2/3 innings. So that's pretty good. His ERA is really just jacked up because of that first start against Kansas City where he got rocked for 9 hits and 8 earned runs in 1 1/3. I don't know what that was in 1 1/3 innings. Other than that, aside from his last outing where he didn't do that well, even though they still won, giving up 4 runs against the White Sox, 4 earned runs. Other than that, he had 4 starts in a row where he allowed 2, 1, and 0 earned runs in all of them. Not against the greatest offenses, though. So he really has only faced one really good offense in the Dodgers, and he didn't do badly in that game either. But I like all of his stats in general, man. And Seattle has struggled against him in general over their careers in somewhat of a small sample size. They're 6 for 26 off in lifetime for a 231 batting average, although they do have 2 doubles, a triple, and 2 home runs off him, which is an 846 OPS. So that is slightly high. But the 231 opponent batting average and a 9-0 strikeout walk ratio against them tells me that Ober has had command against them. His stats just in general, even like for most of the season and over his career, he's had a pretty low whip and a pretty good strikeout walk ratio. So I like Ober. I like his stats. So I think that that's going to be the way to go there, I would have to say. So we'll go with the under in that one. And I think that is going to do it for this one. I actually didn't look at the Cubs game, so am I going to handicap this one in real time? I doubt that I'm going to have a play on it, but even though Imanaga is pitching, and you know I like Imanaga, he is good. So I do think they have an edge because Imanaga is pitching, but Randy Vasquez, his stats are way worse, but the Cubs have never seen him before. So I'm just speaking out loud, handicapping on the fly here. Padres actually have one hitter who's somehow seen Imanaga already. I don't know. I don't know what that was about. If there was I don't even know what that was. If he switched teams or what. But that's going to do it for me, man. So we got Dallas Mavericks plus 3.5 in basketball, and we got Boston Red Sox +1 on the run line, or if you want to throw, just go money line +150. I don't really hate that either. And under 8 or whatever the best you can get, it might creep up a little bit. You might be able to get better than that on Seattle and Minnesota in baseball. That's it, man. Peace.